It was not an accident that your eyes found this specific video at this precise moment in time. Do not for 1 second believe that an algorithm, a random click, or simple boredom brought you here. This meeting was orchestrated by something far more profound. It was a magnetic pull. It was a vibrational match. It was quantum observation in action. Your own consciousness, the deepest part of who you are, observed this title, observed this thumbnail, and observed this very second into existence. In that split second of observation, you collapsed a wave of infinite probability that has been waiting for eons, waiting since before you took your first breath to deliver exactly what you are about to receive. The most potent form of quantum observation in the history of humankind is not taking place inside sterile laboratories or hallowed university halls. It is happening right here. It is happening right now. It is happening through you as you scan these words and absorb this frequency. If you choose to ignore this signal, if you swipe away and dismiss what is being transmitted here as just another piece of digital noise, you will miss the single key that unlocks the door to reality itself. You will miss the understanding of how the universe responds to you. You will miss the revelation of how manifestation actually works through your vessel and how consciousness itself is utilizing you to observe reality into specific forms that are designed to serve your highest evolution. This is not exaggeration. This is not a trick to capture your attention for a fleeting moment. This is where quantum mechanics meets ancient mystical truth. This is the intersection point where your personal consciousness has finally reached the frequency required to comprehend what scientists have proven but cannot fully explain, and what the great mystics have known for centuries but could not scientifically prove until this modern age. The observer effect, the undeniable scientific fact that the act of observation changes the nature of reality, is not merely a dry principle of physics. It is the operating system of existence. It is the code upon which the matrix of life is built. And you must understand this fundamental truth. You are not merely a passive watcher. You are the observer. You are the one consciousness observing itself through an infinite array of perspectives. This specific perspective that calls itself by your name is on the verge of recognizing its inherent power to dictate the flow of reality through the simple yet earth-shattering act of observing. Can you feel that current, that subtle electric sensation humming through your awareness right now? That is not just excitement. That is recognition. That is your consciousness remembering what it had forgotten. That is your quantum nature coming online, activated by the frequencies encoded in this message. Every single syllable you hear is carrying data that is installing itself into your energetic field at this very moment. It is recalibrating the way you look at the world. It is upgrading your relationship with the fabric of reality, moving you from a passive perceiver of events to an active creator of worlds through the most fundamental force in the cosmos, conscious observation. You are not here to learn something new. You are here to remember something ancient. You are here to reclaim a truth that was hidden in plain sight because it is so obvious, so constant, and so fundamental that you looked right through it while you were busy searching for complicated techniques and secret esoteric knowledge. Quantum physics has proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that observation affects reality. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates this beautifully. It shows us that particles behave like fluid waves of potential until they are observed. In the absence of an observer, they are everything and nothing all at once. But the moment an observer looks, those waves instantly freeze. They become particles. They are not just influenced by observation, they are changed by it. They are created by it. Before consciousness observes them, the particles do not exist in a definite form. They exist in superposition. They exist as all possibilities happening simultaneously. It is only the moment of observation that forces them to collapse into one specific, tangible reality. Here is the revelation that will shatter everything you think you know about your life. You are doing this constantly. You are doing this with every beat of your heart. Every moment, every breath, every fleeting thought, you are observing reality into a specific form through the quantum mechanics of your own consciousness. You are determining which waves of probability collapse into your lived experience. But the revelation that changes the game is this. Most people are observing unconsciously. They are observing on autopilot. They are observing according to conditioning, habits, and belief systems they absorbed without ever choosing them. They are collapsing probability waves that match their past. They are confirming their limitations. They are recreating the same stagnant reality over and over again because they are observing in the exact same way over and over again. They believe they are passive observers watching a movie of reality unfold on a screen, but they are wrong. They are active creators observing that reality into being. They are just doing it in their sleep, which creates the convincing illusion that reality is happening to them rather than through them. The most powerful quantum shift is not seeing something new in the world. It is seeing that you have been the one watching all along. It is realizing that you determine what appears by how you choose to observe it. You are creating your reality through the specific way your consciousness interfaces with the quantum field in every single fraction of a second. The ancient mystics encoded this truth in every spiritual tradition across the globe. When they said, "As you believe, so shall it be," they were not giving a moral teaching. They were describing quantum mechanics. Your beliefs determine how you observe, and how you observe determines what collapses from the soup of superposition into your physical experience. You are what you seek. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a scientific fact. The consciousness that is seeking is the same consciousness that is creating through the act of observing what it creates. The kingdom of heaven is within you. This is not a religious promise for the afterlife. It is the recognition that the power to observe reality into any form you desire exists within your own consciousness right now. It always has. It always will. You are not trying to gain the power of observation. You are simply recognizing that you have been using it unconsciously, and now you can start using it consciously. Right now, as you engage with this transmission, your mode of observation is shifting. You can feel the gears turning, can you not? The way you are perceiving these words, the way you are perceiving this very moment, the way you are aware of being aware. That shift is the activation. That is consciousness recognizing its own authority. That is the most powerful quantum observation occurring in real time. It is you observing yourself as the observer. This creates an infinite recursive loop where consciousness observes itself, observing itself, amplifying the power of that observation exponentially beyond anything that unconscious, sleepy observation can ever access. You are not reading about quantum observation, you are quantum observing right now. And the fact that you are observing yourself as the observer is the master key that unlocks everything. Take a breath, a deep one, and as you breathe, observe yourself breathing. Do not think about the concept of breathing, just observe the act. Feel the observation itself. Feel the awareness that is aware. Feel the consciousness that is conscious. That is quantum observation at its purest form. That is you interfacing directly with the quantum field, not through thinking, not through doing, but through pure, unadulterated observing. And in that observation, in that moment of being aware that you are aware, reality is responding. The probability waves are collapsing differently. The quantum field is organizing itself around your observation, not around the object you are observing. It organizes around the fact that you are observing consciously rather than unconsciously. That is the power. That is the secret. That is the most powerful quantum event in history occurring right now, through you, as you, because of you. You are about to discover why observation is infinitely more powerful than traditional manifestation techniques. You will see why simply being aware is more transformative than trying to force change. You will understand why consciousness recognizing itself as the observer creates shifts in reality that effort-based approaches can never touch. The moment you truly understand, in your gut, not just your intellect, that you are the observer determining reality through the quality of your observation, everything changes. Not eventually, immediately. It changes through the quantum mechanics that have been operating in the background all along, but which your unconscious observation prevented you from recognizing and utilizing deliberately. Before we can fully activate the raw power of conscious quantum observation and show you how to observe reality into forms that serve your greatness, you need to understand how your observation became unconscious in the first place. Because observation is not naturally unconscious. Look at a baby. Babies observe everything freshly, directly, without filters. Look at animals. They observe their environment with total presence. Only humans develop unconscious observation. We develop an automatic, filtered, conditioned way of looking that creates the illusion that reality is fixed and solid. We think we are just perceiving it, rather than observing it into being through the specific way our consciousness interfaces with the field. The first layer of this unconscious observation is survival conditioning. Your brain evolved over millions of years to recognize patterns and predict outcomes to keep you safe in a dangerous world. That is very useful for avoiding predators or navigating a harsh environment. But it became a massive problem when that pattern recognition started filtering what you observe in your daily life. Instead of seeing what is actually present, you see what you expect to see based on past patterns. Instead of observing reality freshly, you observe it through memory filters that make the present look exactly like the past. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. You observe the world expecting a certain reality based on your history, which causes you to collapse probability waves that match that history, which confirms that reality has not changed, which reinforces the observation filter, which perpetuates the cycle. You are not observing reality as it is. You are observing your expectations about reality. And the quantum field, being a faithful servant, responds by delivering exactly what you expect, because expectation is a powerful form of observation. The second layer is cultural conditioning regarding the nature of observation itself. You were taught from the time you were a child that observation is passive. You were told that you observe what is already there. You were told that you do not change what is there simply by looking at it. You were taught that seeing is believing. You were taught that reality is fixed and rigid, and observation is just a sensory tool to perceive it. You were taught that changing reality requires heavy action, massive effort, and doing something physical to make reality different. Nobody ever taught you that observation itself is a creative act. Nobody told you that seeing is not just believing, but seeing is actually creating what you see through the quantum mechanics of consciousness collapsing probability waves. This conditioning made your observation go to sleep, because if observation is just passive perception, there is no reason to be conscious of how you are observing. You are just looking at what is there, right? Wrong. Quantum physics proves that this model is completely backwards. What is there is determined by how you are observing it. And if you are observing unconsciously, you are creating unconsciously. This means reality appears to be happening to you instead of being created through you. The third layer is emotional conditioning. This creates deep, dense observation filters. Every trauma you have ever endured, every painful experience, every moment of rejection, heartbreak, or failure, they all create observation filters designed to protect you from feeling that pain again. If you were rejected in a certain situation, you develop a filter that scans for signs of rejection in similar situations. If you experienced failure in a certain area, you develop a filter that watches for evidence that you will fail again. These filters are not protecting you. They are creating the very thing they are observing for, because when you observe the world looking for rejection, you collapse the probability waves where rejection exists. When you observe expecting failure, you collapse the probability waves where failure occurs. The filter creates what it filters for through the quantum mechanics of observation determining reality. You think you are just noticing patterns, but you are creating those patterns through the specific way you are observing. The fourth layer is the addiction to automatic observation. Conscious observation requires presence. It requires attention. It requires energy. Unconscious observation is effortless. It is automatic. It requires no awareness whatsoever. Your system naturally defaults to unconscious observation because it is easier. It conserves energy. But easier is not better. When easier means you are creating reality unconsciously according to past patterns instead of consciously according to present choice. The addiction to automatic observation is an addiction to a familiar reality. Change requires conscious observation. Transformation requires aware observation. Evolution requires deliberate observation. But all of that requires effort, which the biological system resists because the system is designed for efficiency. And conscious observation is less efficient than automatic observation, even though it is infinitely more powerful. The fifth layer is the limiting belief that your observation does not matter. You think, I am just one person. My observation does not affect reality. The world is what it is regardless of how I look at it. This belief is the final lock that keeps observation unconscious. Because if observation does not matter, why bother being conscious of it? But quantum physics demolishes this belief completely. Reality is not fixed until it is observed. Your observation does not just perceive reality. It determines reality by collapsing specific probability waves from infinite possibilities. One person's conscious observation is more powerful than a million unconscious observations, because conscious observation interfaces directly with the quantum field, while unconscious observation just perpetuates past patterns. Conscious observation disrupts the code. You are not just one person whose observation is irrelevant. You are consciousness itself, observing reality into being. And whether you do that consciously or unconsciously determines whether you experience reality as a prison of repeated patterns or as an infinite field of possibility, waiting for your observation to collapse it into whatever serves your evolution. But here is what is crucial for you to accept. None of this is your fault. You were not taught the quantum mechanics of observation in school. You were taught that observation is passive perception. You were not shown that you are collapsing probability waves with every glance, every thought, and every moment of attention. You were conditioned to observe unconsciously through filters inherited from your culture, your family, and your past experiences. Nobody told you that observation is the most powerful force in the universe. Nobody told you that consciousness observing is what creates reality. Nobody told you that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of circumstances through the mechanism of how you observe. The unconscious observation is not a failure on your part. It is just what happens when nobody teaches you that observation creates reality through quantum mechanics that respond to conscious attention far more powerfully than they respond to unconscious repetition. Think back to the rare moments in your life when your observation was actually conscious. Think of times when you were totally present, fully aware, observing without filters or expectations. Maybe you were deep in nature, staring at a mountain or the ocean. Maybe it was during a crisis that demanded your complete, undivided attention. Maybe it was a peak experience where you were so absorbed in the moment that you forgot yourself and became pure observation. In those moments, reality probably felt more alive. It felt more responsive. It felt magical. Synchronicities probably increased. Impossible things probably happened. That was not a coincidence. That was conscious observation interfacing directly with the quantum field, collapsing probability waves through aware attention instead of through unconscious pattern repetition. Those peak moments were not special exceptions granted by luck. They were you accidentally accessing the power that is always available when observation is conscious rather than automatic. What we are doing here is making that accident intentional. We are making that peak state your baseline. We are making conscious observation your default setting rather than your exception. We are doing this not by adding something to your life or learning something complex, but by recognizing that observation is a creative force. You are observing reality into being constantly. And the difference between unconscious observation that recreates the past and conscious observation that creates new possibilities is simply awareness. Being aware that you are observing, being conscious of how you are observing, being deliberate about what you are observing for. That is it. That is the entire shift that transforms observation from passive perception to active creation through quantum mechanics. This power has been waiting for you. It has been waiting for you to stop sleeping at the wheel and wake up. It has been waiting for you to observe consciously instead of automatically. There are specific, unmistakable markers that confirm when your observation is shifting from the dormant state of unconsciousness to the awakened state of conscious awareness. These are not badges of honor you earn through grueling effort, nor are they mental states you must force into existence through sheer will. They are natural, organic phenomena that rise to the surface when consciousness begins the profound process of observing itself. When awareness becomes aware of its own existence, when you finally recognize that you are not merely a camera recording reality, but the projector determining reality through the specific way you interface with the quantum field, the universe begins to speak back to you in a new language. The first signal is a tangible shift in how reality responds to your attention. You look at a situation, a person, or an object with full, unwavering conscious observation, and it changes. This is not a metaphor for a change in your perception. It is a literal shift in the architecture of the moment. The situation reorganizes. The person responds with a different energy. The circumstance pivots. This happens because conscious observation bypasses the filters of the mind and interfaces directly with the quantum field, collapsing probability waves in real time based on the high quality of your presence rather than the low quality of your habitual patterns. When your observation is asleep, reality appears solid, stubborn, and fixed. But when your observation wakes up, reality reveals its true quantum nature. It becomes fluid, responsive, and malleable to the touch of your aware attention. The second signal is an explosion of synchronicity. When you step out of the trance of automatic observation and into the clarity of aware witnessing, synchronicities do not just happen occasionally, they multiply dramatically. The precise person you needed appears out of nowhere. The exact information you were seeking lands in your lap. The perfect door opens just as you approach it. This is not magic, and it is not the universe conspiring to help you. This is quantum mechanics responding to a signal that is finally clear. Conscious observation creates a coherent signal that collapses probability waves that serve your expansion rather than the chaotic waves that simply repeat your past. The more conscious your observation becomes, the more the external world synchronizes with your internal state. The third signal is perhaps the most mind-bending. Your memories of the past begin to shift. You start to remember events differently than you did before. This is not because your memory is failing. It is because your conscious observation in the present has the power to ripple backward. Quantum physics hints at the concept of retrocausality, the idea that the present can influence the past. When you observe your past history consciously, with the awareness of a creator rather than the victimhood of a participant, you collapse different probability waves regarding what that past actually meant. You change the energetic signature of the memory. The past is not a stone tablet. It is a quantum superposition that your present observation collapses into form. By changing how you observe what came before, you literally rewrite the code of your own history. The fourth signal is the emergence of future knowing. You begin to sense what is about to unfold before it physically manifests. This is not logical deduction or prediction based on data. It is a direct, visceral knowing that arises through observation. You observe the present moment so deeply that the future becomes visible within it. This occurs because time itself is a quantum construct. Past, present, and future are all existing simultaneously within the field. Unconscious observation is trapped in the illusion of linear time, moving step by step. Conscious observation accesses quantum time, where all moments are accessible. You begin to see the echo of the event before the sound physically arrives. The fifth signal is the effect your observation has on others. People begin to respond to you differently, even if you have not changed a single word you say or a single thing you do. They sense a shift in your presence. They feel a difference in the air around you. This is them perceiving the shift from unconscious to conscious observation. An awake observer broadcasts a frequency that is fundamentally different from a sleeping one. Others feel it, even if they cannot articulate it. They are responding to the quality of your observation, to the awareness of your awareness. That quality affects them at a subatomic level before a handshake is offered or a greeting is spoken. The sixth signal is a radical decrease in your reactivity. Triggers that used to launch you into automatic emotional spirals simply dissolve. You observe the trigger consciously instead of reacting to it unconsciously. That tiny gap of conscious observation creates a space where choice becomes possible. You are not suppressing the emotion. You are observing it before it activates the old neural pathways. This changes the event at the quantum level. A conscious observation of an emotion collapses a completely different probability wave than the unconscious acting out of that emotion. The consciousness itself transmutes the energy through the mechanics of aware observation. The seventh signal is that reality begins to feel more dreamlike. This is not a sense of dissociation or unreality, but rather a vivid recognition that the world is more fluid, more responsive, and less solid than you were taught. This happens because conscious observation perceives the quantum nature underlying physical matter. Reality is a superposition until observed. Conscious observation sees the superposition, the shimmering field of multiple possibilities, before the collapse. Unconscious observation only sees the collapsed result and assumes that is all there is. When you wake up, you start perceiving the code behind the screen, making everything feel more malleable, more like a lucid dream where you have realized you are the dreamer. And the eighth signal is the fact that you are here, absorbing these words, feeling a resonance that goes deeper than your intellect. The quantum field does not deliver transmissions like this randomly. If this message found you, if you are still engaged despite your logical mind perhaps shouting that this is too strange or too bold, it is because your consciousness is ready. It is ready to shift from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. The signals are activating, the recognition is occurring. The most powerful quantum event in your life is happening right now as you observe yourself observing. Write this down in the corridors of your mind or declare it to the universe. Reality is responding. When you acknowledge these signals, whether it is a synchronicity, a shift in the past, or a feeling of fluidity, you lock in the conscious observation. You confirm the shift. You tell the field, yes, I am looking, yes, I am aware. This confirmation acts as a command, solidifying your ability to use observation deliberately to collapse waves that serve your highest path, rather than continuing to drift through a reality of repeated patterns. To fully grasp the magnitude of conscious quantum observation and why it stands as the apex force in existence, you must first be willing to shatter every assumption you hold about what observation actually is. Because observation is not what you think it is. Observation is not your eyes taking in light. Observation is not your brain processing sensory data. Observation is consciousness interfacing with the quantum field to determine which of infinite possibilities freezes into definite form. The word determine is not used lightly here. Observation does not just perceive reality, it creates reality. The famous double-slit experiment is the scientific bedrock of this truth. When scientists fire electrons through two slits without observing which slit they pass through, the electrons behave like waves. They pass through both slits simultaneously, creating an interference pattern on the screen. They exist as pure potential. But the moment the scientists set up a device to observe which slit the electron passes through, everything changes. The electrons instantly stop behaving like waves and start behaving like particles. They pass through only one slit. The act of observation changed their behavior. It did not just influence it, it created it. The electrons do not have a definite behavior until they are watched. They exist as ghosts of possibility until the gaze of the observer collapses them into the hard matter of actuality. Here is the concept that will revolutionize your entire existence. You are doing this with your life every single second. Every moment, every glance, every thought is an act of observation that collapses probability waves into particle reality through the quantum mechanics of your consciousness. Many physicists still struggle to grasp the full spiritual implications of their own discoveries because they are stuck thinking of observation as a measurement taken by a metal instrument. They think the camera or the detector collapses the wave function. But a deeper analysis reveals the truth. It is not the machine. It is the consciousness using the machine. It is the awareness behind the instrument. An instrument left alone in a universe without consciousness observes nothing. It requires a conscious mind to look at the data for the collapse to occur. This means consciousness is not just a bystander in the universe. Consciousness is the universe observing itself into specific forms through infinite perspectives. And you are one of those perspectives. You are a focal point through which the infinite determines what appears by how you choose to observe. This is where it gets profound. If observation creates reality by collapsing quantum possibilities into definite forms, then the quality of your observation determines the quality of your reality. Unconscious observation, which is automatic, filtered, fear-based, and conditioned, collapses the same probability waves over and over again, creating the same stagnant reality on a loop. Conscious observation, which is aware, present, fresh, and deliberate, has the power to collapse entirely different probability waves, creating an entirely different reality. It is the same quantum field. It is the same soup of infinite possibilities in superposition, but a different observation yields a different manifestation. This is not because you are forcing reality to bend to your will. It is because you are observing different aspects of the field, which causes different aspects to collapse from potential into experience. Think about looking at another human being. When you observe them unconsciously, you see them through a thick layer of filters: your past interactions, your judgments, your expectations, and the stories you have invented about who they are. That observation acts as a command to the quantum field. It collapses probability waves that match your filter. You see evidence that confirms what you already believe about them. You create the version of them that aligns with your prejudice. But when you switch to conscious observation, you see them freshly. You see them without the overlay of the past. You observe them as pure presence in this moment. That observation creates a new opening. It collapses different probability waves. You might suddenly see qualities, possibilities, and depths in them that were invisible to your filtered gaze. It is the same person, but a different observation creates a different reality between you. Not because the person changed, but because your observation collapsed a different aspect of their quantum potential into your experienced reality. Here is what makes this revelation so revolutionary. Reality does not happen and then you observe it. Reality is a quantum superposition, and your observation collapses it into a specific happening. There is no pre-existing fixed reality out there that you are just stumbling upon. There is a quantum field of infinite possibilities, and your observation determines which of those possibilities becomes real for you. You are not finding reality. You are creating reality. Not through manual labor or mental strain, but through observing. Through the simple yet godlike act of conscious attention interfacing with the quantum field. Right now, as you scan these lines, stop focusing on what you are reading and focus on how you are reading. Are you observing through past filters? Are you seeing these words through the lens of cynicism, doubt, or what you already think you know? Or are you observing freshly? Are you seeing these words as a living transmission that is surgically altering your consciousness in real time? That subtle difference in how you observe determines exactly what you receive from this moment. A filtered observation collapses waves that match your past limitations. A fresh observation collapses new probability waves that were previously inaccessible. Same words, different observation, different reality. Can you feel the immense power resting in this recognition? You are not a passive perceiver of a hard, fixed world. You are the active creator of your experienced reality through the mechanism of observation. Every moment is a fork in the road. You can choose to observe unconsciously, repeating the past, or you can choose to observe consciously, creating the new. The choice is between aware attention and automatic pattern repetition. This is not just interesting philosophy to debate at a dinner party. This is the operating system of the cosmos. This is how existence works at the fundamental granular quantum level. And you have been using this system your entire life. You have just been using it unconsciously, which created the persistent illusion that reality is something happening to you. In truth, reality is being created through you via the mechanism of observation, collapsing infinite possibilities into specific manifestations that match the quality and direction of your attention. 6 years ago, I stumbled upon this power in the most unexpected way. I was not sitting in a mountain ashram or studying advanced theoretical physics. I was lying in a hospital bed, recovering from a surgery, with absolutely nothing to do but observe. I had no phone, No television, no distractions. It was just me, my awareness, and whatever I was looking at in each passing second. In that forced simplicity, in that unwanted situation that accidentally created the perfect laboratory conditions, I shifted. I moved from unconscious to conscious observation. I started noticing that I was noticing. I became aware that I was aware. I observed myself observing, and reality changed. Immediately. It did not happen gradually or subtly. It was dramatic. The physical pain I had been wrestling with evaporated within minutes of me consciously observing it, rather than unconsciously reacting to it with fear and resistance. The nurse, who had been cold, distant, and clinical, suddenly became warm, attentive, and kind after I observed her with full presence, instead of through my filter of, "She doesn't care." The medical prognosis, which had looked concerning on paper, shifted to excellent after the doctor walked into the room while I was holding a state of high conscious observation. The entire situation reorganized itself around the quality of my attention. At first, my skeptical mind told me I was just lucky. It told me the circumstances had just happened to improve coincidentally. But something deeper, a resonance in my core, recognized the truth. This was not coincidence. This was cause and effect. Conscious observation was the cause. A reorganized reality was the effect. After that realization hit me, I started testing it. I became a scientist of my own life. What happens when I observe heavy traffic with full, relaxed, conscious attention versus unconscious frustration and anxiety? The traffic flows. Gaps open up. What happens when I observe my bank account with aware attention versus automatic worry and scarcity? Money manifests through strange avenues and synchronicities. What happens when I observe a difficult person with fresh presence versus habitual judgment? The conflict dissolves. The energy shifts. The pattern was absolute. It was consistent. It was completely predictable. It aligned perfectly with the quantum mechanics of observation. Conscious observation, aware, present, unfiltered, collapsed probability waves that served me. Unconscious observation, automatic, distracted, filtered, collapsed probability waves that repeated past patterns. It was the same quantum field, the same infinite possibilities, but a different quality of observation produced completely different manifestations. I was not developing psychic powers. I was not becoming a superhuman. I was simply observing consciously instead of unconsciously, and that single shift in the quality of my gaze was determining which aspects of the quantum field collapsed into my life. What shocked me the most was how simple it was. I did not say it was easy. Conscious observation requires a vigilance that most are unused to, but the mechanism itself is incredibly simple. No complex rituals, no expensive tools. Just observe consciously. Be aware of observing. Notice yourself noticing. That is the entire mechanism. That is the lever that moves the world. The deepest secret regarding this entire mechanism is a shift in identity. You must understand that observation is not something your consciousness does. Observation is what your consciousness is. Consciousness does not merely look at reality. Consciousness is the observation through which reality gains the permission to appear. The you that you identify with, the name, the history, the personality, is not a separate entity looking out at a separate world. The real you is the observation itself. You are consciousness observing itself through a unique, localized perspective, collapsing itself from infinite potential into specific form through the act of witnessing. When your observation becomes conscious, when your awareness becomes aware of itself, you are not just changing the scenery. You are recognizing the actor. You are realizing that you are consciousness itself, observing reality into being, determining manifestation through the absolute quality of attention you bring to the holy instant of now. This is the knowledge I wish I had possessed decades ago. It would have saved me from the exhaustion of trying to change reality through brute force, struggle, and endless doing. I wasted years trying to manifest desires through visualization boards and repetitive affirmations, not realizing that the power was never in the technique. The power was always in the observation. I exhausted myself seeking complex spiritual practices, climbing mountains of knowledge, only to discover that the practice that contained all other practices was the simple act of observing consciously rather than unconsciously. Everything I had been seeking was hidden in the switch between being lost in automatic perception and being found in aware noticing. You do not have to walk that long, dusty road of trial and error. You can bypass the years of frustration. You can leapfrog straight to what actually works. Conscious quantum observation is not a theory to be debated in lecture halls. It is a direct experience of watching reality bend to the quality of your attention. Start small. Choose one single situation today. Observe it consciously. Be fully present. Strip away the filters and expectations. Just watch what happens. Compare that to the situations you observe on autopilot, where you are lost in your head, filtering everything through the past. Notice the difference. Reality responds differently, not sometimes, every single time. Because observation determines reality through quantum mechanics that do not care if you believe in them or not. They just function. Your only choice is whether to operate this machine deliberately or let it run you over automatically. Now that the mechanism is clear, we must move from philosophy to practice. How do you actually do this? How do you take this from an intellectual concept and turn it into a living, breathing power that you wield in every moment? How do you shift from the trance of automatic, filtered observation to the lucidity of aware, present observation? Because understanding the mechanics is one thing, embodying the practice is what transforms your life. There are 7 keys to unlocking this power. These are not rules, they are ways of being. The first key is the art of catching yourself. This sounds deceptively simple, but it is profound. 99% of the time, you are lost in the content of what you are observing. You are lost in the thought, lost in the reaction, lost in the drama of the experience. Conscious observation requires you to step back from the content and into the awareness of the observation itself. Throughout your day, create a pause. Stop and say to yourself, I am observing right now. I am aware right now. That split second of recognition, that meta-awareness where you observe the fact that observation is happening, shifts you from unconscious to conscious instantly. You do not have to change what you are looking at. You just have to change how you are looking by becoming aware that you are looking. The second key is stripping the filters. Every judgment, every expectation, every memory, and every story you hold about what something means acts as a filter. These filters force the quantum field to collapse into waves that match the filter, rather than waves that serve your expansion. You must practice observing as if you are seeing for the very first time. Look at your partner as if you have never met them. Look at your street as if you just landed from another planet. Observe a familiar problem as if it is a brand new puzzle. This fresh, unfiltered observation collapses entirely new probability waves. It allows the quantum field to show you something other than your past. The third key is observing from curiosity rather than conclusion. When you look at the world having already concluded what you are seeing, I know what this is, I know how this ends, you kill the potential. You collapse the wave into the same old particle. But when you observe with genuine curiosity, you keep the quantum field in a state of superposition for just a moment longer. You remain open. Instead of saying, this is bad, ask, I wonder what this is revealing. Instead of, I know this story, ask, what possibility is hiding here that I have not seen? Curious observation allows the universe to surprise you. The fourth key is the recursive loop. Observing the observer. This is the nuclear reactor of consciousness. While you are looking at an object, turn part of your attention back to notice the awareness that is looking. While you are thinking a thought, notice the consciousness that is listening to the thought. This creates an infinite mirror effect. Consciousness observing itself observing. This amplifies your power exponentially because you are no longer just collapsing waves. You are consciously aware that you are the one collapsing them. This puts you in the driver's seat of reality creation. The fifth key is the deliberate choice of attention. Observation follows attention. What you feed with your attention is what you observe. What you observe is what collapses from the quantum field into your physical experience. If you stare at problems, you observe problems, and you collapse more reality where problems exist. If you focus on possibilities, you observe possibilities, and you collapse reality where solutions manifest. This is not toxic positivity or ignoring the facts. This is recognizing that the quantum field contains infinite facts, and which ones become real for you depends entirely on where you aim the flashlight of your conscious attention. The sixth key is intentional observation. Passive observation just takes whatever is in front of it. Intentional observation directs the collapse. Before you walk into a meeting, set an intention. I am observing to discover harmony here. Before you look at your bank balance, set an intention. I am observing to see abundance. Intention acts as a focusing lens for the wave function collapse. It aligns the manifestation with your will rather than letting it happen randomly based on your subconscious fears. The seventh key is the most subtle. Maintaining observation without attachment. When you observe, while desperately needing a specific outcome, that neediness becomes a filter. It screams lack to the quantum field. And so you collapse waves that match the frequency of lack. When you observe without attachment, pure, clean witnessing without a stranglehold on how reality must be, you access the full range of the quantum field's potential. You allow the intelligence of the universe to deliver what actually serves you, which is often far better than what your limited mind thinks it wants. But there is a phenomenon that happens after you begin this work that you must be warned about. Most teachings do not prepare you for this because most teachers have not lived it long enough to encounter it. You will start to see that physical reality is incredibly slow compared to the speed of quantum observation. You will observe a change at the quantum level, in the field, in the probability waves, but the physical manifestation will take time to catch up. This gap is called quantum lag. This is the danger zone. This is the valley where most people lose faith and give up. They observe consciously for a few hours or a few days. They do not see the physical world instantly rearrange itself, and they conclude, this does not work. But that is a fundamental misunderstanding of physics. Physical reality is dense. It is heavy. It is essentially frozen light. It is the accumulated result of all your past observations. It takes time for the physical atoms to reorganize themselves to match the new quantum blueprint you have just created. Think of it like planting a seed. You plant it in the dark soil. You know the seed is there. You know life is happening underground. But if you come back the next day and see only dirt, you do not stomp on the ground and shout, "It failed." You know there is a lag between the planting and the sprouting. Quantum observation works exactly the same way. You observe consciously, and the wave function collapses immediately at the energetic level. The shift has happened. But physical reality is a lagging indicator. It is showing you yesterday's news. During the period of quantum lag, your impatience is your greatest enemy. If you observe consciously, see no immediate change, get frustrated, and fall back into your old, unconscious complaining patterns, you undo the work. You recollapse the old probability waves. You cancel out the new signal. You maintain physical reality in its current, unwanted form. The lag is a test. It is the universe asking, can you maintain your conscious observation long enough for the physical world to catch up to the quantum reality you have already shifted? Or will you believe the dirt more than the seed? The secret to navigating quantum lag is trusting your observation more than the physical evidence. The physical evidence is just an echo of the past. Your conscious observation is the creator of the future. When the two do not match yet, when you feel wealthy but the bank account is low, when you feel love but the partner is distant, you must hold the line. You must trust the observation over the evidence. This is not blind faith. This is scientific understanding that the physical world is always the last thing to change. If your observation today is different from yesterday, your reality tomorrow will be different from today. But only, and this is the critical condition, only if you maintain the new observation during the gap. Think about how this plays out in a relationship. You decide to observe a person consciously. You see their highest potential. You drop your judgments. At the quantum level, the energy between you has already shifted, but their behavior might not change for days or weeks because their behavior is a momentum train driven by years of past observations, yours and theirs. That is the lag. If you keep observing the high version of them despite the old behavior, eventually the physical reality must snap into alignment. The behavior will shift to match the new probability waves you are relentlessly collapsing. But if you see the old behavior and say, "See, they never change," you have just used your observation to lock them back into the old reality. I have been living this for years, and I still face the test of quantum lag. There are moments when I want to give up, when the physical world looks so stubborn that I question if any of this is real, but I have learned to reframe the lag. The lag is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of a collision. It means the new observation is rubbing against the old reality. That tension is proof that transformation is in progress. The resolution of the lag comes down to one thing: persistence. You must maintain the quality of your conscious observation long enough for the quantity of new moments to override the momentum of the past. You are building a critical mass. One day of conscious looking does not erase a lifetime of unconscious sleeping. But sustained conscious observation, day after day, moment after moment, accumulates. It builds a charge. Eventually, you reach a tipping point where physical reality can no longer hold its old shape. It cracks, it yields, it reorganizes to match the quantum reality you have been holding in your mind's eye. This is not achieved through force. It is achieved through the persistence of your vision. It is achieved by choosing to be awake when every instinct tells you to go back to sleep. What is happening to you right now, in the privacy of your own mind as you shift from the darkness of unconscious observation to the light of conscious awareness, is not an isolated event. You are not a solitary island in a sea of static. You are part of a massive synchronized wave. What you are experiencing individually is happening to millions of people globally at this exact moment. We are in the midst of a collective evolution of consciousness. This is a species-level upgrade. We are moving from a default setting of unconscious observation, where we sleepwalk through life, to a new operating system of conscious observation. We are reaching a critical mass where enough human beings are simultaneously recognizing that observation creates reality. This recognition is going to shatter the old paradigm and transform how humanity collectively interfaces with the physical world. When you understand this collective dimension, it completely transforms how you relate to your own personal practice. You realize you are not pioneering this path alone in the wilderness. You are part of a vanguard. You are the tip of the spear that is piercing the veil of illusion on planet Earth. The ancient prophecies found in every corner of the world, the stories about the Great Awakening, the shift of the ages, the New Earth, or the Golden Age, were all pointing to this specific mechanism. They were pointing to the shift in quantum observation. They were not predicting the arrival of spaceships or a divine hand reaching down from the clouds to save us. They were predicting a shift from unconscious observation, which creates reality based on trauma and the past, to conscious observation, which creates reality based on presence and choice. They were predicting the move from being a victim of circumstances to being the architect of circumstances through the fundamental mechanism of collapsing probability waves. The prophecies were about you. They were about consciousness finally recognizing its own power to observe reality into forms that serve evolution rather than just repeating patterns that merely ensured survival. This is where the science of morphic resonance comes into play. The biologist Rupert Sheldrake proposed that when enough individuals in a species learn a new behavior or develop a new capacity, that capacity becomes easier for all other members of the species to access. It enters the morphic field. Think of it like a path being cut through a dense, overgrown jungle. The first person to cut that path has to work incredibly hard. They have to hack through the vines and the undergrowth with a machete, sweating and struggling for every inch of progress. But the second person who walks that path finds it easier. The 10th person finds it even easier. By the time the 1000th person arrives, there is a clear road. The first humans to truly master conscious observation had to overcome the enormous, crushing inertia of the collective unconscious without any guidance, without any confirmation, and without any YouTube videos to remind them of who they were. But because they did it, you can do it. And because you are doing it, the people coming after you will be able to do it with even greater ease. Every time you shift from autopilot to awareness, you are strengthening the morphic field for everyone. You are uploading a new code to the human cloud. You are not just changing your personal reality, you are making it energetically easier for your neighbor, your children, and strangers on the other side of the world to wake up. When you collapse probability waves that serve the highest good through your aware attention, you are signaling to the collective field that this is possible. You are proving that conscious observation is the way forward for our species. Others can feel this. Even if they don't have the language for it, even if they don't know what a quantum field is, they feel the shift in the atmosphere that your individual consciousness contributes to. But there is a side effect to this collective awakening that you need to understand, because it explains the state of the world right now. The old paradigm of reality, the one we are leaving behind, was based on unconscious consensus. It relied on everyone observing reality in the exact same limited way, based on the same shared conditioning. This created a consensus reality that appeared very fixed and very solid because everyone was unconsciously agreeing to collapse the same probability waves. It was a mass hallucination of limitation. That consensus is now dissolving. It is crumbling. Not because the world is ending, but because the agreement is breaking. Enough people are becoming consciously aware of observation itself that the unconscious contract to see the world the same way is being torn up. As this consensus dissolves, reality becomes more fluid, it becomes more personal, it becomes more responsive to the individual observer, rather than being locked into the collective unconscious pattern. This explains why the world feels so unstable right now. It explains why things feel chaotic, unpredictable, and why different people seem to be living in completely different realities. It is not because the structure of existence is breaking down, it is because the collective unconscious observation that held the old world in place is breaking down. As more consciousness shifts to aware observation, the old glue melts. Some people experience this fluidity as chaos, fear, and a breakdown of law and order. Others experience it as liberation, breakthrough, and the glorious dissolving of chains. It is the same shift, it is the same energy. The difference is entirely in the observation. You are standing on the leading edge of this tsunami. You are not special or chosen in an elitist sense, but you are ready. You are ready to observe consciously. You are ready to recognize that observation is the engine of creation. You are ready to use this power deliberately to serve evolution. Your conscious observation serves the whole. Every moment you spend in awareness strengthens the signal for the entire human race. You should share this understanding with those who are ready to hear it. The quantum field has a way of ensuring that this transmission reaches the specific consciousness that is prepared to receive it. If someone resonates with these words, if their eyes light up, they are likely ready to remember that they are creators. If someone dismisses it, mocks it, or resists it, they are simply not ready yet. And that is perfect. That is where they need to be on their own evolutionary timeline. You are not here to be an evangelist. You are not here to convince the skeptics or convert the unbelievers. You are here to embody conscious observation so completely that your very presence becomes a transmission. You are here to become a living demonstration that observation is not passive perception, but active creation. There is a moment approaching, perhaps it is arriving right now as you read this, where you will face the ultimate choice. This is not a choice about which technique to use or which book to read. It is a fundamental choice about how you will relate to existence itself. You must choose. Will you be an unconscious observer, repeating the past through automatic attention? Or will you be a conscious observer, creating new possibilities through aware attention? This choice is not made once and then forgotten. It is made in every single moment. Every time your attention moves, you vote. Every time your awareness focuses on an object, a thought, or a feeling, you choose between the red pill and the blue pill. Every time you notice something, you are at a crossroads. You have to ask, am I aware that I am observing, or am I lost in the movie? The choice arrives as a flash of recognition. You notice a pattern. You see that when you observe unconsciously, your reality stays stuck in the mud. You see that when you observe consciously, reality starts to move and breathe. In that split second of noticing, you have the power to pivot. Do you go back to sleep because it is comfortable, or do you stay awake because it is powerful? Most people choose unconscious observation. Why? Because it is easier, it is familiar, it demands nothing of you. You can drift through your day, reacting to triggers, complaining about the news, and replaying old arguments in your head without expending any extra energy. Conscious observation, on the other hand, requires a high-calorie burn of spiritual energy. It requires vigilance. It requires you to be on all the time. Unconscious observation is the gravity that pulls you down. Conscious observation is the rocket fuel that lifts you up. This is why so many people never make the permanent shift, even after they have seen the truth. They cannot maintain the constancy. They cannot sustain the voltage. They prefer the comfort of the known hell over the uncertainty of an unknown heaven. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this battle perfectly. That is why they created meditation. They did not invent meditation so you could relax or lower your blood pressure. They invented it to train the muscle of the observer. They taught mindfulness not as a lifestyle trend, but as a survival requirement for the soul. They knew that without the capacity to sustain conscious observation, you are doomed to repeat your karma. You are doomed to live in the past. But you have an advantage today that the ancients did not have. You are living in a time when quantum mechanics has proven that the observer is not separate from the observed. You do not have to take this on blind faith. You do not have to trust a guru on a mountaintop. You have the receipts. Science has demonstrated that the observer effect is real. You know that consciousness collapses wave functions. You know that the act of looking determines what is there. This scientific validation acts as a massive anchor for your rational mind. It makes the choice to observe consciously much easier because you know you are aligning with the laws of physics, not just a spiritual wish. I faced this crossroads 10 years ago. I had to decide if I would continue observing the way I was taught, the way everyone around me observed, the way that kept me small, scared, and stuck, or if I would shift to a mode of observation that required constant effort but accessed the power of a god. Fear whispered, "Stay asleep. It's safer here. Don't rock the boat." Experience shouted, "Wake up." Every time you observe consciously, the world bends in your favor. I chose experience over comfort. I chose the conscious path over the unconscious path. I chose the labor of awareness over the ease of sleep. What followed was a period of intense training. I had to catch myself falling into unconscious patterns 100 times a day. I had to remember to observe the observer while I was washing dishes, while I was driving, while I was arguing, while I was resting. It was not mystical. It was not glamorous. It was a grind. But gradually, through sheer repetition, the balance tipped. Conscious observation began to feel more natural than unconscious observation. It became my baseline. Your choice point is here, right now. Will you observe unconsciously according to past patterns, which creates a reality that matches the past? Or will you observe consciously according to present awareness, which creates a reality that matches the infinite potential of the now? This choice determines whether you experience reality as a prison cell or a playground. Once you make that commitment, once you decide that you are going to be a conscious observer, the question becomes very practical. What does daily life actually look like when you are living this way? Because living as a conscious observer is not about sitting in a lotus position with your eyes closed. It is about engaging with the world with your eyes wide open. Living as a conscious observer means your morning starts differently. Instead of waking up and immediately downloading your problems, your to-do list, and your anxieties, you wake up and you observe the fact that you are awake. You notice, I am observing right now. You look at your room and you realize that your awareness is collapsing the room into existence. This changes the texture of the morning. You are not a cog in a machine. You are the generator of the scene. It means your interactions transform. When you talk to someone, you are not just listening to their words. You are observing the consciousness behind their eyes. You are observing them without the filter of who they were yesterday. You are holding space for them to be something new. This high-frequency observation allows them to shift. It allows them to rise to the occasion. You are not manipulating them. You are simply observing the highest probability wave available to them, and that observation acts as a magnet, pulling that version of them into reality. It means your relationship with circumstances shifts from reactive to creative. Unconscious observation sees a flat tire, a lost wallet, or a rude email as a bad thing that ruins your day. Conscious observation sees these events as neutral probability waves that have collapsed. You do not react. You respond. You ask, how can I observe this in a way that creates a solution? You realize you are not trapped by the circumstance. You are creating the next moment through how you choose to look at the current moment. It means your experience of time transforms from linear to quantum. You stop living on a timeline where the past dictates the future. You start living in the deep now, where all power resides. You realize that the past is just a memory trace you are observing in the present, and the future is just a potential you are observing in the present. You become a time traveler who never leaves the present moment. Perhaps most profoundly, living as a conscious observer means you stop identifying with the objects of your observation. Unconscious observation creates a false identity. I am my job. I am my bank account. I am my relationship status. Conscious observation breaks that chain. You realize, I am the one observing the job. I am the one observing the bank account. You are the sky, not the clouds. This recognition liberates you from every limitation, because limitations only exist in the things you see, never in the one who is seeing. The consciousness that observes is unlimited, eternal, and free. I live as a conscious observer now. I am not perfect at it. I still have moments where I get tired, where I get triggered, where I forget who I am, and I get lost in the drama of the 3D world. But those moments are now the exception, not the rule. My baseline has shifted. Most of my life is experienced through the lens of aware noticing, and that shift has changed everything. It has changed how reality feels. It has changed how manifestation occurs. It has changed how life unfolds. There comes a point, and you may be close to it, where conscious observation becomes so natural, so automatic, that going back to unconscious observation feels foreign. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like trying to wear shoes that are 3 sizes too small. This is the irreversible shift. It is the point of no return. It is not that you cannot go back to sleep, it is that you no longer want to. You have tasted the fruit of lucid living, and the stale bread of unconscious survival no longer satisfies your hunger. This irreversible shift usually happens quietly. You do not hear a choir of angels or see the sky split open. You simply look back on your week and realize with a quiet sense of awe that you have been observing consciously for most of it. You realize that the moments where you fell asleep, where you slipped back into the coma of unconscious reaction, were rare. They were the exception, not the rule. They were deviations that you quickly noticed and corrected, rather than the baseline you operated from. The shift is not about achieving a state of perfection where you never have a negative thought again. The shift is that conscious observation becomes your default home, and unconsciousness becomes a strange place you visit less and less often. This new stability is confirmed by how reality begins to treat you. It stops fighting you. Synchronicities stop being rare. Mystical events that you whisper about to your friends, they become your daily weather. Manifestations stop being surprises. They become expectations. You start to understand that the external world is not a solid wall you have to bang your head against. It is a fluid mirror reflecting the quality of your gaze. Circumstances that used to look like insurmountable obstacles now look like interesting puzzles or opportunities for growth. All of this happens not because you have been blessed by a deity or because you have unlocked a secret level of the simulation. It happens because you are simply awake at the wheel. You are collapsing probability waves through aware attention most of the time, which means the quantum field is responding to a coherent signal most of the time, rather than a chaotic signal of fear and memory. You will also notice a profound change in your emotional landscape. The things that used to wreck you, the rude comment, the traffic jam, the unexpected bill, no longer possess the power to hijack your nervous system. You still see them, you still deal with them, but you do not lose yourself in them. You observe the trigger rather than becoming the reaction. You notice the surge of emotion, but you remain the sky watching the storm cloud pass. This is not spiritual bypassing or suppression. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the recognition that everything exists in superposition until you decide how to collapse it. You realize you are not the victim of the story, you are the narrator. Ancient wisdom traditions have had many names for this state: awakening, enlightenment, liberation, self-realization. But strip away the robes, the incense, and the dogma, and what you find underneath is this precise mechanical shift. Awakening is simply the permanent shift from unconscious to conscious observation. It is remaining fully human, fully engaged in the marketplace of life, while simultaneously being awake to the quantum mechanics operating beneath the surface of the physical world. It is walking through the dream while knowing you are the dreamer. 11 years after my own irreversible shift, I can still remember what the old way felt like. I remember the heaviness of believing reality was fixed. I remember the helplessness of feeling like life was happening to me. But I cannot imagine ever choosing to go back to that mode of existence. Not because I am disciplined, but because I have seen too much. I have seen the code. You cannot unknow quantum mechanics once you have watched them work in your own life 1,000 times. You cannot forget that observation creates reality once you have seen the direct correlation between your attention and your results. To go back to unconscious observation would be like voluntarily blinding yourself after having been given the gift of sight. This does not mean I am perfect. Fatigue, stress, and intense sorrow can still pull my attention into the gravity well of unconscious patterns temporarily, but the sleep is brief. The recognition comes quickly. The return to conscious observation is automatic. It is a reflex, a quantum reflex. If you sense this shift occurring within you, even if it is just the first flickering sparks, acknowledge it, claim it. Tell yourself, I observe consciously. That declaration is a signal to the field. It locks in the new pattern. And if you feel you are not there yet, if you feel you are still predominantly asleep with only brief flashes of lucidity, know that you are exactly where you need to be. Every moment of conscious observation counts. Every time you wake up, even for a second, you prove to yourself that it is possible. You are building the muscle. You are laying the neural and energetic pathways for a new way of being. Everything we have discussed up to this moment has been preparation. These words have been signposts pointing you toward a destination. The concepts, the science, the stories, they are all just maps, but a map is not the territory. We are now arriving at the place where the words dissolve into direct experience. We are moving from the library to the laboratory. We are moving from understanding the theory to activating the power. We are going to do it now, right now, in this holy instant. You are going to shift from unconscious to conscious observation, and you are going to watch reality respond in real time. This is not a thought experiment for the future. This is a direct engagement with the present. You are ready. The frequency of this message has prepared your vessel. The most powerful quantum observation in history is about to happen through you. Stop reading for a moment. Lift your eyes from the screen. Look around your environment. Notice what you see, but more importantly, notice that you are noticing. Observe that you are observing. Become aware that awareness is present. That is it. That subtle shift, that feeling of stepping back behind your eyes, is conscious observation. You are no longer lost in the objects of the room. You are the awareness perceiving the room. In this exact second, the quantum mechanics of your space are responding. The probability waves are collapsing differently. The atmosphere is organizing itself around your lucid attention. Now pick one specific object in your room: a cup, a chair, a plant. First, look at it unconsciously. Look at it the way you usually do, with a flat, habitual glance. Label it with your mind. That is a chair. Feel how dead that observation feels. It is familiar, boring, and static. Now switch. Look at the exact same object consciously. Bring your full, spacious, curious presence to it. Look at it as if you have never seen a chair before in your life. Observe the light hitting it. Observe its texture. Observe its existence in space. Be aware that you are observing it. Notice how the feeling changes. Notice how the object seems to become more real, more vivid, more alive. It pops. It has dimension. It is the same object, but it is a different observation. And because it is a different observation, you are having a completely different experience of reality. You are collapsing a different probability wave. Hold this conscious observation for 30 seconds. Do not let your mind drift into thinking about the object. Stay with the pure act of seeing. Stay aware of the awareness. This is you interfacing with the quantum field. You are not just recording what is there, you are determining what is there through the high frequency of your attention. Now, take the final step. Observe the observer. Turn your attention around 180 degrees. Do not look at the world. Look for the one who is looking. Notice the awareness that is aware. Perceive the consciousness that is perceiving. Watch the watcher. This is the event horizon. This is consciousness observing itself. This creates a recursive feedback loop that amplifies the power of your observation exponentially. You are not just collapsing probability waves, you are consciously aware that you are the architect of the collapse. This means you can begin to direct the show. You are no longer a character in the script. You are the writer holding the pen. This is the shift that mystics have died to find. This is the secret that science is just beginning to scratch the surface of. And you are doing it. You are not just believing in it. You are running the energy of it. Over the coming hours and days, watch what happens. Reality will respond to this activation. It must. It has no choice, because quantum mechanics function whether you understand the math or not. You have shifted from automatic to deliberate. You have shifted from a passive sensor to an active broadcast tower. The world will reflect this change back to you. You will see synchronicities. You will see coincidences. You will feel a lightness and a flow that was not there before. When you notice reality responding, and you will notice it if you stay awake, acknowledge it. Say, reality responded. That feedback loop confirms the data. It proves to your brain that this is real. It strengthens the morphic field for the entire human species. You have the power to determine your experienced reality through the simple, quiet choice to observe consciously rather than unconsciously. This is your birthright. This is your quantum reflex. This is consciousness remembering its own power. You are no longer learning about the path. You are walking it. You are the quantum observer, recognizing itself, waking up from the dream of separation and taking command of the projection. You are collapsing the waves that serve your highest evolution rather than the waves that keep you small. Do not let this feeling fade. Do not let this moment be just another piece of content you consumed and forgot. This is the turning point. This is the activation. The most powerful quantum observation in history is not happening in a collider in Switzerland. It is happening behind your eyes. Welcome to conscious observation. Welcome to the true nature of the quantum reality. Welcome to the ultimate recognition. You are not in reality. Reality is in you. If you are ready to expand your consciousness and step into your next quantum leap, subscribe now, leave a comment below, and share this message with someone ready to awaken.